We're going to start with Drained. Drained is directed by Peter. Oh boy, if I can read my own writing here, it'd be great. Oh boy. Stylianuv or Styliano and Sam Cronin. All right, I am sorry about the names. I'm terrible sometimes about my own handwriting. I can't read it, and I don't go back and look at IMDb. Anyway, Drained is from this year, and it stars Thomas, played by Ruaridh Aldington, and then Rhea, played by Madalina Bellariu. Boy, I'm terrible with names. And this is kind of it's not a two-person movie, but they are the two main characters. It starts out with our main character, Thomas, and he is kind of your classic failure to launch dude. I don't know if they said what his age was, but he looks to be like mid 20s, maybe even late 20s, old enough that he's going to probably be most of the people that age are going to probably have gotten out of the house. But he's still living with his mom. She's a single mom. He is sitting up in his, attic room, drawing like, fantasy illustrations of, hot, you know, fantasy women and vampire women and sword and sorcery women, that kind of. He's not an incel per se, but he definitely doesn't have a lot of game, and he definitely doesn't have a lot of ambition. And I think he has dreams of becoming an illustrator or maybe a book artist. And he's just sitting there in the attic room doing that his thing. Very quickly in the movie, mom brings home a dude. She very quickly becomes serious about this guy, and this guy has no no patience for Thomas still living at home with mom, especially when he decides he's gonna move in and become the man of the house. He's got his woman, which is Thomas's mom, and it's time for Thomas to go out and live on his own. So how it works is this guy who moves in, he basically says, Thomas, I've got my old apartment. I'm moving in. You're going to go live in my old apartment and try to get yourself on your feet. You need to get a job. You need to get yourself going. And that begins Thomas's, I guess, path into independence. Although what he really ends up doing, instead of becoming very independent and kind of going on and making his life more of a individual life, you don't see him doing much. He pretty much just seems to eat, drink, not do a lot. In fact, there's a lot of scenes of him in this movie, and it kind of bothered me. And it wasn't made to be a disturbing movie, really, per se, but lots of movies of him, scenes of him peeing, or, now you don't see it, but peeing or eating like spaghetti grossly, or just, I don't know. It just seemed kind of fixated on that stuff in a way that I wasn't really enjoying. Anyway, you follow him and he goes to the local watering hole, the local bar. He seems to kind of know the bartender there. They're kind of chatting and he's trying to he's being encouraged by the guy. You just got to go talk to women. It's no big deal. And the thing, Thomas isn't like he isn't played off as a total nerd. I mean, he looks like he'd be a fairly athletic dude. He's in good shape. He's not stereotypically what you think of as a nerd, but obviously he doesn't seem to have a lot of confidence talking to women. He's standing there at the bar and watching the women dance. It's a small bar, and he sees a woman that comes in and she just enthralls him. You know, long dark hair. She's kind of in flowy sort of a lacy dress, and she is just kind of a vision to him, and immediately is attracted to her, and she immediately seems interested in him in a way that's unusual, like like almost obsessed with him, where you wouldn't be necessarily with someone you just saw across the room. He doesn't seem uh, very interesting. Like he's just a dude, nothing special. She immediately says, what does she say? Something like, "You look beautiful," or something a little odd. Well, long story short, you get the idea of this pretty quickly. It's not like it's a secret. She is a vampire, and he and she have a obsessive, unhealthy relationship, as you might guess. And he knows she's a vampire, so it isn't like a secret. Very quickly you see, and she'll like eat off his arm, like, and that's kind of their version of sex, I guess you'd say. You don't ever see them like, doing that. You just see him like with his arm out. getting fed on. That's kind of the basic situation in this movie. And really quickly, you get the idea like, oh, this is going to be kind of a metaphor for addiction. I mean, obviously, he has bites on his arm. He's obsessed with it. It's causing his life to kind of fall apart. He's getting unhealthy. People are worried about him. It's a very, very, very obvious metaphor for addiction, which has been done many times, I think, with vampirism, especially. So it kind of, to me, asked the question for me asked, what am I supposed to get special from this movie? It isn't especially visually interesting, and it doesn't say a whole lot about addiction per se. I mean, this the very basic things that you would get from addiction, right? Like I said, his health wanes. His relationship with his family and his other people he knows wanes because he kind of basically is giving up everything for this addiction. And of course, she even tells him when she meets him, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Because it isn't like you think see in the movies, but if you do to do this, it's gonna be a commitment, and it's gonna really be everything in your life if you do this, because I need you to be that for me. And there's this whole thing about how she says that only certain people taste really good, and he's one of them. So that's why she's kind of more fixated to him than like any other dude that she might walk across and meet on the street. Even though she'll you know get blood from anybody if she needs it, but if there's somebody who really tastes good, she wants to stick with them. So there's kind of a level of, I guess you'd say, attraction or commitment there. This is a very minor movie for me. It didn't really move the needle much. I don't think it works great as an obsessive love story in the way that, you'd get like I don't know, what's another version of a really obsessive love stories? 9.5 weeks or something, destructive love stories that are just obsessive, like passionate affair or whatever. This is trying to kind of be that, doesn't really work. There's a thing about how she became a vampire, and it's different than it is in other vampire lore, and that plays into the ending of this movie somewhat, which makes it's kind of really predictable if you're watching the movie. I don't want to say what it is, so if you do want to watch it, you won't get spoiled. But when she talks about how you get turned into a vampire, I was like, well, okay, obviously that's going to happen at some point in this movie somehow, and it does. Just in the same way, it's like they were standing around looking at a gun together. Like, look at this gun. This is how it works. Okay, well, that character is going to definitely use that gun later on, that Chekhov's gun thing. Yeah, and there's some things that are supposed to be, I think, either kind of blow you away or really striking, and they kind of came across a little silly to me. Specifically, there's a couple scenes where they're flying, and that really really didn't work for me at all in this movie. Some people might it might work, but it didn't. Oh, I know the movie I would say. Thirst. Thirst would be a great movie from Korea. Same director that did Old Boy, if I remember correctly, did Thirst. Park Chan Wook, I do believe, if I remember correctly. Now that's a movie that goes along interesting, similar territories, but in really unexpected and unusual ways, and really plays with the genre, the subgenre, and it really has all kinds of different tones and just is surprising throughout. Whereas this movie is kind of unsurprising throughout. And last but not least, the hardest thing about this is for her, I can definitely see how you could see her and she works as a character as a beautiful young dark-haired mysterious woman, kind of the very obvious version of this kind of vampire woman. So she works as far as an appealing character. He is not. And it's hard to say, but he's not an interesting character. He's not an interesting person. So I guess I didn't feel attached to his story or his plight. I wasn't rooting for him or against him. He was such a normal, such a like a non-story kind of person that I was like, I guess she might just kill him, or maybe she won't. I don't really care. Was she gonna go home? Don't really care. So, yeah, for me, this is a 2 star. I give it 2 stars because there's definitely some decent production. There's some decent acting, and it works overall as a story. It's not like just a disaster, but it wasn't for me, and I don't think it's gonna work for most horror fans. I don't think this is gonna be a winner for most people. 2 stars for Drained.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. For more movie and television reviews and interviews, please subscribe to my Deepest Dream channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, thanks so much for your support. Take care.